Welcome back, class. Another episode of Math 1 Learning, John Glenn High School, room 1809. We are still doing this distance learning. Okay, so today I'm going to teach you a strategy for solving word problems. So a way to analyze a word problem, break it down, and I call this strategy the three-box strategy. So this is something that I came up with. You won't find this in a textbook. You probably haven't had another teacher show you this strategy. It's something that I came up with, and I think it works pretty well. So it's called the three-box strategy. Okay, so you should have your notes in front of you. I'm going to flip over to my DocuCam, so you get ready to go, and here we go. Okay, the three-box strategy. And just a side note, if you want to receive full points for this assignment, make sure you have all the notes sections completed, and you need to show all your calculations for each problem. So there's a couple of problems I'm going to do with you, and then you will have a couple of problems on your own to do. Okay, so most math word problems often involve three parts, and that's why I came up with the three boxes. So we need to figure out what goes in the first box, what goes in the second box, and the third box. But most word problems, math word problems, will have three parts. And here are the three parts. The first part is called, or what I call the upfront amount, or the starting amount. So usually the word problem will give you an amount that if it's about a person, they'll have a starting amount. Maybe it's the amount of money they have saved in their bank account. Maybe it's the a starting, if they're driving a certain number of miles, they've already driven a certain number of miles. So it's the upfront, it's the starting amount. The next part that a word problem will usually have, or often will have, is what's called the rate. And we're going to talk about the rate in just a moment, but this would be, an example would be like if you're earning $10 per hour at a job, or if you get an allowance of $10 per week from your parents. Okay, so that would be a rate. We're going to talk about that more. So word problems usually have an upfront amount, they usually have a rate, and then they usually have some type of a total, some kind of finishing amount. So what we need to do when we're looking at a word problem is we need to figure out what goes here, what goes here, and what goes here. And sometimes, usually, not sometimes, usually there'll be a variable. So sometimes the variable will be associated with the rate, and sometimes the variable will be here. If it's a two variable problem, usually you'll have a variable here and a variable over here. So today we're only doing one variable problems. So I will do a couple examples with you, but let's talk about rate really quickly. So a rate is really a ratio of two categories. So we're comparing two categories. Let me give you a couple examples here. For example, miles per hour. So we're comparing miles to hours, right? Miles per hour, this is how we measure how fast we go in a car. If we're talking baseball, like a pitcher might throw 95 miles per hour. So we're comparing distance to time, miles per hour. So it's a ratio of two categories. Here's another example of a rate. I mentioned this. I mentioned about working. Here's one, like if you're going to go to the movies, well, what's the rate? The ticket price, right? It would be dollars per ticket. So if you're going to go with a bunch of friends and you buy those tickets online and then you want them to pay you back, you have to figure out, well, what was it? What was the cost per ticket, right? The price per ticket. Okay, so those are a couple examples. All right, so let's look at, we'll look at a couple of word problems here, and then you will have a couple on your own. Okay, so this first word problem, we've got Joe, and here he is. He's a workout stud. So Joe, he paid $35 to sign up for a gym membership. Okay, so gyms are starting to open back up. So they want customers, so it's going to be a low cost for the membership. So $35 to sign up for the gym membership. So in addition, he has to pay a monthly fee of $11 per month. So this was his upfront amount or starting amount that he had to pay. And then in addition, he has to pay $11 per month. So this word per, that is kind of a clue that this is our rate right here. And then the question is, how many months can Jose, I think I said Joe, Jose, how many months can Jose pay if he has $167 to spend? Okay, so he's got 167. So this would be his total amount. So if we're going to go through this, the upfront amount would be the 35. Okay, so he's paying $35 upfront. And then our rate is the word here, we got the word per, so $11 per month. So the way we would write that is we would write it like this, $11 and then per month. We're really going to multiply 11 times the number of months. And then how much does he have to spend? He has a total of $167 to spend. So maybe he saved that. He's got a little savings account or a piggy bank. So he's saved $167. So the question is how many months? So we want to figure out how many months he can pay for with this total. Okay, so now we've got our 3 boxes, and now we're going to put that together in an equation. So we want to take the 35 plus 11 times m, and then $167 is the total. So now we're just going to solve a regular equation. So the first thing that we would do is we would subtract 35 from both sides. So these cancel right here. Those get canceled. We have 11m is equal to 167 minus 35. So 167 minus 35 comes out to 132. And now we're going to divide both sides by 11. And that's going to give us, hopefully you know your 11's times tables. 132 divided by 11 comes out to 12. Now, what is that? 12, what is that? 12 power milkshakes? What's the 12 we were talking about? Well, if we go back and look at the beginning of the problem, we're trying to figure out how many months, right? So that 12 tells us the number of months. So our final answer would be Jose can pay for 12 months of membership with $167. So the final answer is 12 months of membership. Okay. All right. So our 3-box strategy. We're looking for the upfront amount. We're looking to see if there's a rate in the problem, and we're looking to see if there is a total that they give us. Okay, now the next example I'm going to do is a little more sophisticated. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through this one. All right, so here we go. All right. Okay, so on this one, it says the science club needs to rent a bus for a field trip. Okay, so the school's not going to provide the bus. So the science club is going to have to, they want to go on a field trip, but they've got to pay for the bus themselves. So they have 2 options that they found. They have one bus company, which is called Main Street Buses. And this bus company charges $40 rental fee plus $2 for every mile. And then the second company is called County Bus Line, and they charge a $20 rental fee plus $3 per mile. So if we're not looking at how much per mile, let's say we're not looking at that right now, just initially, it looks like the county bus line is less expensive. This is $20 rental fee, so they've got to pay this before they even get in the bus. But Main Street is a $40 rental fee, so it looks like county bus line is less expensive. However, if you notice that county bus line charges $1 more per mile. So it really depends on how far they are going to go on this trip. Okay, so now let's look at the question. Right now, we don't have a question. There's no question marks. This is just information. So the first question is, how many miles will it take for the total charge to be the same? So how many miles will they have to ride in Main Street buses, and how many miles would they have to ride in county bus line for the cost, the charge of the bus to be the same price? Okay, and then the second question is, what will that charge actually be? So we want to figure out how many miles it will take for them to be the same, and what would that cost be? Because obviously they're not the same, right? If we only went 1 mile, right, that would be $2 plus 40. 40 plus 2 is 42. And if we were only going 1 mile for this one, this would be $23. So county bus line would be a lot less expensive if they were only had to drive 1 mile. Okay, so we want to figure out, well, when will the prices be the same? Because this one's only $2 a mile and this is $3 a mile. All right, so the way you do this is we're going to set up a 3-box strategy, but we're going to do this for both of the companies. And we want to figure out, when will they be equal to each other? When will Main Street buses be equal to county bus line? Okay, so the first thing we want to do is let's just look at our 3-box strategy for Main Street buses. Okay, so let me come over here. And so we've got our 3 boxes. We've got the upfront, we've got the rate, and then the total. Now, let's look at the information they gave us. So on Main Street buses, it says $40 rental fee. So what that is you've got to pay this. This is for like maintenance, and they just charge you an upfront cost before you can even drive. So that's $40. So your upfront would be 40. And then here's the word per. There's our rate, $2 per mile. Now, does it tell us anywhere how far they're going? Anywhere in the problem, does it tell us how far they're going to go? Does it say it's a 15-mile trip or a 30-mile trip? Doesn't say. So we don't know what the total is right now, okay? So this is what we're going to do. So when we fill in our boxes, it's $40 up front for Main Street, and the rate is $2 per mile, but we don't know the total. So we're going to put another variable since we don't know. So sometimes people will use X right here, but I'm going to use M for miles. It's $2 per mile, and it was right there, $2 per mile. Okay, but we don't know the total. All right, now let's go take a look at county bus line. And what does county bus line charge as an upfront cost? That's right there, 20. So they charge 20. So we're going to put 20 in this box. In our second box, our rate, if you notice, rate is usually something times something. So our rate is $3 per mile. So $3 times the number of miles. And then we also don't know what the total cost is. We don't know the total distance, right? So we don't have a total. But we don't really need a total for this problem because we just want to figure out, when will Main Street buses cost, right? This is cost. We don't know the total cost. We want to know, when will this cost the same as this? So watch what I'm going to do here. This says this is equal to Y, and this over here says this is equal to Y. Well, if this equals Y and this equals Y, then I want to find out, when is this going to be equal to that? When are they going to be equal? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down like this right here. Okay, so I'm taking, don't worry about this line, that's for something else. I'm going to take 40 plus 2 times the number of miles, and I want to find out, when will it be equal to an upfront cost of 20 plus $3 per mile. Okay, so now we still only have one equation. I know we had the Y, but we're not using that. We're just taking this part of the equation, and we want to find out, when will it be equal to this part of the equation. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 2m from both sides. So these are now gone. That's canceled. Okay, and so 3m minus 2m is just going to give me an m. And we've got 40 is equal to 20 plus m. I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides. Subtract 20 from both sides. And that is going to give me m is equal to 20. Now, what is m? Is that the number of milkshakes? What is m? M is the number of miles, right? Remember back up here, our rate, $2 per mile, $2 per mile. Over here was $3 per mile. So we just figured out that it will take 20 miles. If I put 20 here, watch, 40 plus 2 times 20, 2 times 20 is 40. So 40 plus 40 is 80. And over here, if I put a 20, 3 times 20 is 60 plus 20, that's 80. So in 20 miles, they will cost the same. And then what is that price? So now I'm going to bring down, you could bring either equation down. I'm just picking this one because it was the first one. So I'm bringing down 40 plus $2 per mile. And now I've got this. So, and we know that they're equal to each other. So now I'm going to take that 20 and plug it right there. And that comes out to $80. So we have now answered both questions. Go ahead and copy your final answer and put it in a box. But your final answer is the two companies will be the same price of $80. They'll both be $80 at 20 miles of travel. Okay, so if you have to go 20 miles, then they're going to cost the same price. If you're going more than 20 miles or less than 20 miles, then they're not the same price. And so you would want to calculate, well, what's the price going to be? But on this question, it was asking, when will they be the same? Right? So the question was, how many miles will it take for the total charge to be the same? And what will that charge be? So that price was $80, and that would be at 20 miles. Okay? So I've shown you two different types of problems. In this problem here, there were two different companies. So we had to set up two equations, this equation and this one, and we wanted to find out when were they equal. So we put this equation equal to this equation. In the previous example that I gave you, on this one, it was just one person and we only had 3 boxes, but we still did the same thing. What's the upfront? What's the rate? What's the total? Okay. And in this one, we just happened to have, we had to do it twice. What's the upfront? What's the rate? What's the total? Okay. All right. So now you have, let's see, you've got 3 more problems to do. So you've got this problem right here. The soccer team is ordering new uniforms. There is a one-time setup charge of $40, and each new uniform costs $60. How many uniforms can be purchased with $300? So you're going to have to think through what's the upfront amount, what's the rate, and then what's the total that we have to work with. Okay, so there's 3 separate numbers there. And then you have to think about, I'll give you a hint, that rate is where your variable is going to be. The variable is going to be in here. So think about what is the rate, okay? And then you have another problem here about laser tag. Okay, so laser tag Palace charges $20 membership fee and $6 per hour. How many hours can be played with $100? Okay, so you've got 3 numbers again. Figure out what's your upfront amount, what's your rate, what's your total, and then go ahead and solve it, right? We're solving them. We're not just filling in the boxes. You're solving the entire word problem. And then the last one is one of these where you've got 2 different companies. And this is a gardening service. So we've got Henry's Gardening Service and we have Tony's Landscaping. So go ahead and do Henry's over here, do Tony's landscaping here, fill in your 3 boxes, and then take this part of your equation and make it equal to this part of this equation, make those equal to each other, and then you're going to figure out how many months will it take for the 2 companies to cost the same, and what will that cost be? Okay, so you've got 2 gardening services. All right, so you've got a total of 3 problems, plus you need to have all of the notes filled in, the examples that I gave you. Okay, so go ahead and work on that, and I will see you next class. We'll see you soon. Bye.